So now that you've watched Slope Dude. So here is what it should look like. Positive going uphill, negative going downhill, 0 is horizontal, undefined is up and down. Okay, so now let's talk about finding intercepts. So an x-intercept. X-intercept is where the line crosses the x-axis. So we're going to put point, because it must be a point, where line crosses x-axis. So where it crosses the x-axis, it'll be along the x-axis at one of the numbers. So the point will be some number where it crosses, and 0 is y. So it's a number, and 0 is for y. So then the y-intercept is a point where line crosses y-axis. So it's along the y-axis. So there will be 0 for x, but y will be some number. So you can find these just by looking at the graph.
Yeah, what about the 0? Is that just an x?
0, yeah, 0 is x. Yeah. 0 has to be x, and then y will be the number. We'll have a number on it. Okay, so let's open up our foldable. We have equation, slope, x-intercept, and y-intercept. So the first one that we're going to find is the slope. So put a 1 on slope. That'll be the first thing. Okay, so thinking back to how we find our slope, we're finding it from a graph. So we are going to count rise over run. So we're going to put M equals rise over run. So in order to do our slope, we need to have 2 points that we count, rise over run.
1/3. That's a half.
1 and 3. So we need to count rise. So I'm going to do jumps. So rise 1, and then run 1, 2, 3.
1/3.
Yep. So it is 1/3. And using Slope Dude, make sure that you pay attention to if it's positive, negative, 0, undefined. So what is Slope Dude doing if he goes up this slope? Puff, puff, positive. So we know it's a positive. Puff, puff, positive. So it's 1/3. Okay, the second thing that we'll do is the x-intercept. So we are going to look at where it crosses the x-axis. So this is our x-axis. At what point does it cross?
3.
But it has to be a point. I can't just put 3. What do I have to put? 3, 0. Because remember over here, it was a number and 0. So that was 3, 0. Okay, the third thing that we're going to do is the y-intercept. So where does it cross on the y-axis? -1 right here. This is a y-axis. So it is -1, 0? 0, -1. Also with our y-intercept, in y equals mx plus b, we'll write that here, y equals mx plus b. The y-intercept is the b. B is your y-intercept. So going back over here, what does b equal? Y-intercept. So in this graph, what is the y-intercept? -1. Then our last thing we're going to do is the equation. So remember the equation is y equals mx plus b. If you look back over here, y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, b is your y-intercept. So we can write our equation now. Y equals, what did we find as our slope? 1/3 x plus, what is b? -1. I've written that a different way though. What could I have written that as?
1/3 x minus 1.
So I'm going to put 4, y equals 1/3 x minus 1. How can we check and make sure we did it right? How can we check to make sure we did this right? Plug it in what? The graph. Y equals, so get your calculator out. We're going to double check and make sure we did it right. So if I want to put this in the calculator, I'm going to go to y equals, clear out whatever is already there, and put in the equation that we said it was. 1/3 x minus 1. So once I have that in, I can go to graph and check and see if it's the same. Looks the same to you. This is just a bigger window than this. HD. I don't. Okay, so we did good on this. So I want y'all to go ahead and do the next one with your table groups.